Hello everyone, my name is Angela Domasova and I'm the founder and trainer at Luxembourg School of Contemporary Etiquette. I'm happy to welcome you to the launch of Lux Etiquette and Service Cafe, the only space of the kind in Luxembourg. In the meantime, it is in the virtual format. However, my dream is to continue our meetings offline. For me, elegance of communication and serving others are the two driving forces that lead me through life. I have created this area not only to share a drink with my soulmates, but also to fill you with my passion for etiquette and service. Being a host is a special kind of service. You want to know that your people are welcome here, that they are safe, and that you will respect them entirely. That's the intention of this cafe. Luxembourg is a good role model of a great host country for people from so many countries of so many nationalities. A friend of mine once said that Luxembourg is a VIP club, and to get the membership here you have to earn it, you have to do something. I love meeting new people here because everybody is special and really unique. There is a myth that it's only if you are famous, if you're on Forbes or on YouTube with thousands of people watching you, you can be impactful in the area of your influence. I would rather disagree with that. I see it as my true calling and my mission to present you in the most authentic way by inviting you for a conversation over a cup of coffee. The great influencers of Luxembourg who create a present and future of this unique country. Now I want you to relax, make your cup of coffee and get ready to absorb really valuable insights, because today, for the launch of Lux Etiquette and Service Cafe, I have invited an incredible guest. She's a high achiever in my industry of coaching and trainings, who for about 30 years has shifted minds of business leaders in Luxembourg, North America, Asia and Europe. With a background in organizational change management, she has worked with global companies like Shell Oil Europe and Bank of Montreal in Canada. She has a talent for helping companies and entrepreneurs sorting out of what has to be done to jumpstart their projects. We could find her volunteering at kitchen table conversations as a moderator for charities and associations. Her latest venture is a B2B platform where big business can obtain bespoke service from high-quality coaches and trainers. It's my honor, personally and professionally, to welcome my first guest, Lisa Frances Jennings. Hello, Lisa, and thank you for accepting my invitation.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's lovely to be here in such a beautiful space.
Today we start a little bit early. Did you have a chance to get your cup of coffee?
Oh, I've had many coffees this morning. I'm quite an early riser.
What are your morning rituals normally? How do you energize yourself? Do you need a dose of caffeine or something else? Do you have anything specific for the morning?
I do. I am a
to
person.
Tune yourself.
I am a person of rituals. So I usually get up within a certain amount of time. I never set an alarm, even years ago when I was flying a lot, if I had a flight at 6 o'clock and had to get up at 4:15, I would just wake up naturally. I'd set the alarm and I'd wake up about 5 minutes before the alarm went off. But typically I get up, I put the coffee on, and while the coffee is brewing, I go and have a shower because, you know, it's all about efficiency. And then I sit with my dogs and have my coffee, and sometimes I journal or I think about what's coming up in the day, or sometimes I think about things that are impacting my long-term plans. So I have about 45 minutes to an hour, but sometimes it's more, where I try to take some time to reflect. So.
And when you wake up and you feel energized in the morning, like 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, they call a person a lark.
Oh, really?
And those, those who...
Because life is a lark when you're up that early.
Is it?
It's a phrase in Canada that means to have a lark is to have fun, but a little playfully.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
So, larks and owls, normally.
Okay.
If you go
So
to
birds,
bed,
yeah.
like birds, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also a lark, I would say,
Yeah.
because it's not a problem for me to wake up early, and then I feel quite energetic. And now there is a stream. There are people who have a group on Facebook, and they share their experience of waking up at 5 o'clock. Like
Okay.
5 o'clock in the morning. They wake up, they have the time for their own, like some privacy, especially when they have children. It's very, very helpful. I'm not sure if it's a good idea for myself to wake up 5 o'clock. Yeah, but anyway, people are trying to different ways of how to get more tuned up for the working day.
When my kids were younger, I was actually quite involved in yoga. I was a yoga instructor, so
you were a yoga instructor?
Yes, yeah. And
for kids or for adults?
No, for anyone. I did specialized classes, so for people who had physical problems. But the practice was waking up at 3:30 in the morning and doing a set that took several hours. And so I think I got into the habit of waking up quite early then. But I've always been an early bird. I've always, from the time I was very young, it would be unusual if I slept until after 6 o'clock. So, unlike everyone else in my family. So I can attest, like getting up early is fantastic because you do have that very quiet time to either reflect on what's going on in your life or to get things done. Sometimes when I'm having a really busy week, I can put in as many hours from the time I get up till the time people are coming to work as most people will put in by the afternoon, because I can do 4 or 5 hours work before 9 o'clock. So,
and what time did normally school start for your children?
it started, well, they were off to school about 8:15. So, but in Canada, we have this thing that I don't think exists in Europe, which is a 24-hour grocery store. The big grocery stores are open for 24 hours. So I could get up at, say, 4:45 and go and do my grocery shopping and be back and have breakfast prepared before the kids got up.
Oh, that's very handy. That's what I miss here in Luxembourg. I'm from Ukraine, and originally we would have all our shops, biggest ones, open 24/7, and it's very convenient. And here it took some time to get used to this regime.
It was a shock when I came over here that even stores aren't open on Sundays. But I have to say, after being here for almost a couple of decades, I like it. I like that Sunday is quiet and that stores close at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I think it gives people, it allows people to keep their priorities, which is family and on their personal life, instead of always running errands. And like I was a bit manic when the kids were little because I was running my own business, bringing up a family. I was very involved in a lot of volunteer work around equality and women's rights. And I look back now and I think, wow, that was, kind of burning the candle at both ends. So
it looks like our conversation will be really very interesting with a lot of valuable insights for those people who are watching us. We are now at Lux Etiquette and Service Cafe, and me being a little bit kind of a geek, this new word young generation is using. I would say an academic type of person. I like definitions, and if you look up Webster's dictionary, it gives the following definition of what service is. So service is an act of kind assistance or the capacity for being useful for some purpose. And today we'll speak about service in business. And in business, mainly we speak about customer service. Do what our customers want, need, how to exceed their expectations, how to succeed in delighting them. And another definition is given to Ron Kaufman, the lead expert in customer service excellence. And he says that the purpose of this service is to taking action to create value for someone else. So let me start with asking this question. What is service for you, and does it apply to coaching?
Okay. So service for me, I agree with the definition. It goes my definition of service goes a little bit beyond that, because I believe very strongly that to give great service, you have to love what you're doing. And the more passionate you are about your work and the service you provide, the more that comes across. And certainly in coaching, of course, coaching is a service. It allows two people to come together, a coach and a client, and it allows an exchange of ideas, information, and concepts that hopefully move both people, but depending on the type of coaching, because there are so many different types.
Yes, there are so many different types. And what are the types of coaching mainly? Because I hear life coaching very often. What other types of coaching are there in? You can have,
so big definitions, like if you thought of coaching as an umbrella, then you would have like the struts on the umbrella. One would be performance coaching. One could be results oriented coaching. One could be life coaching. So there's all these different areas of coaching, and then under those areas there are specializations themselves. So I think I started a list of the different coaching at one point, and I think I'm up to about 70 different types of coaching, which eventually I'll post on the Tyoch platform as a information page. But it's really interesting.
Interesting. And they say that we teach best what we needed in our life the most. How did you arrive to coaching?
Oh, well, that's an interesting story. I was working for a consulting firm, and we did non-core business provision, so anything that wasn't the core business for our clients. And I had a staff of at the time, about 20 people, but within a year it doubled to over 40. And
you were the leader, the manager of the
I was
team.
a manager of I was a manager of client services. So my job was account management. So all the kind of the financial stuff and the interaction, but it was also taking a look at the organization and deciding what we needed to do with our staff to keep them up to date. And because our staff was quite young, I would say over 50% of the people who reported to me, it was their first job out of university, and they were running things like fitness and lifestyle centers or just anything that wasn't a core business. So you name it.
If you, excuse me for interrupting you, but you said that your team was young. And how old were you, if I could ask this question, at that time? Because it looks like you were not very old as well.
I was in my early 30s. So
I already been managing a team.
Yeah, I was probably about 33 or 34, and I had stayed home while I had my kids until the youngest child was about 5, and then I went back to work. And so anyways, I had all these young people that were reporting to me, young being maybe 5 to 10 years younger than me. And I come from a very big family, and I come from a small rural area, so it's very usual to give people advice. But it suddenly occurred to me that I shouldn't be giving people advice that I just worked with. And so I became concerned that I was doing, not the right thing as a manager. So I took my first coaching course really to get myself on track so that I wasn't interfering with the development of my people. And it was such a natural fit. And I do 2 types of coaching. I do non-directive coaching, which is what some people call life coaching, when you have a problem, or whether it's in your personal life or your business and you need to make a decision. But I also, now that I'm in my 60s, I do business mentoring. So I will tell people what to do, but I won't tell them what to do. I'll give them suggestions and ideas that then they're free to choose from.
So that's how you arrived to coaching, and that's how you started. And you mentioned that you went to learn what coaching was. Was it the kind of a certification studies, or was it ICF course?
It was ICF. It was one of the first ones around. And then a few years later, I took a master's of coaching and consulting for change.
Master.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really, for me, it's important to know the background of whatever I'm doing, and especially in coaching. And I was specializing in organizational change management, and there's a lot of churn that goes on when an organization is going through a transition, and that was a really good match for me to take that. It's a master's of psychology. So
now we still have the coaching market not regulated, and there are so many coaches. There are so many people who call themselves coaches. However, you, I guess, have the same attitudes and same approaches to things, and you're also quite academic. So you went to study. You went to learn what it is really to teach others. And is it important, do you think, to be certified, like ACF, CTI certified, or is it enough to have just coaching approaches and apply them to maximize your client's potential? So what's your idea on that?
So I think the most important thing is to be honest. If you aren't certified, don't represent yourself as being certified. I let my certification with ICF lapse because then I had a master's degree in coaching and consulting. So, you know, I think that there is always a place for any type of knowledge and skill acquisition that involves coaching, because whether you're a manager in a company or a team member or just somebody who's working in an association in your community, those skills stand us all in very good stead. You learn how to communicate, you learn how to involve people in the conversation, and you also learn to have a broader perspective and to think, not just to think outside of the box. It allows you to think, I might think that I'm right, but I might only be right for me. And you learn very quickly that you can't make decisions for other people. So, but as far as coaching as a practice, I believe that there's a difference between coaching and mentoring. So if you're certified, my definition is if you are certified in one of the streams of coaching, and it's a reputable certification, because, you know, some people can go for a weekend and take a coaching course and then they say, oh, I'm certified. And it takes quite a bit more time to, you know, to learn how to be a good coach. But there are people who are naturally gifted at sharing their knowledge, and those I classify as mentors, and I act as both. So, but I've met especially so many women who have had fantastic experience, acquired fabulous skill, and they just haven't had the opportunity to be certified yet, some of them. And so with them, I suggest, well, call yourself a mentor. The most important thing is to not misrepresent yourself. I think that's really important. The honesty, especially if you're, you know, working with clients and running a business, that's very important.
All right. So we distinguish between coaches and mentors, and there are also trainers. And trainers, who are the trainers? If we speak about coaches, mentors, it's more or less clear. And trainers, what is the main job of a trainer?
The main job of a trainer, a lot of people think a trainer's main job is to, you know, tell people the information that they have. I think the main job for me that a trainer needs to pay attention to is how to impart the information in a way that is easily understood by the participants in the training class. And I think that I think it's also really important to take training, like if not being certified, but if you're going to be a trainer, then take training yourself to learn how to do it well. And I think that we are quite the same. I tend not to ever want to do anything that I haven't already been trained and certified in. So the same with training. I went through a year program to learn how to be not just a trainer, but to design training programs, and that's really important. So, and a lot of the work I do now is helping other trainers design their programs so that they're effective.
Okay, if we go back to your coaching period, studies in the coaching program, they say that to be a coach, you have to have a coach yourself.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah. Most programs that you can't be certified unless you have a coach. It's like being a psychologist or a psychiatrist. You have to have, your therapist.
Can you recall the most powerful thing that you have learned from your coach?
So there's one story that sticks out in my mind, and I would like
stories, you know.
And I have to kind of wrap this in a context. So I was taking a training to help guide organizations through visioning and missioning, to develop missions and visions for the organization. This is back in the 90s, where it was like, it's still a big thing, but it was a relatively new thing then. And I was taking this training, which was a very complex methodology. And it required people to repeat many of the same things over and over again. And so, as with most certifications, what you do is you attend the course or the class, you get the theory, and then you sit at the back of a room while you watch a master trainer do the thing, and then you start to assist. And I was at the point where I was starting to assist. Okay. So I wasn't at the front of the room, but I was running around taking papers and, things like that. And it was a big group, about 40 people in the room. And the facilitator at the front was, we were brainstorming. So she was writing things on the flip chart, and she'd be like, just say it, I'll write it. And then she would have them say the same thing in a different way. And at one point, somebody, I'm kind of butchering the story, but at one point, this person jumped up out of their seat and they said, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever gone through in my whole entire life. God. I think it's a massive waste of time." And she turned around and said what she had said to everyone, "Thank you." And she wrote it on the board, and that changed my life. I was like, wow, wow.
Oh, that's a story.
That is a story.
That is a story, Yeah, there are moments, they are like, make a twist in your mind, and you shift it 100
changes your life.
180 degrees. So they say that when you're committed to something and you start a new project, the universe is testing you.
Okay.
And if you quit too early and if you stop too soon, then you'll probably fail.
Or have to do it again later.
Or have to do it again later. And if you invest your energy, your time, and your resources, then you will probably succeed in what you're doing. And it might take quite a long time. I know that now you have started a new project, and it is a B2B platform where big business could meet high quality coaches and trainers. And it is called Tyoch.
Yes.
How did you start it, and why Tyoch?
Why the name Tyoch?
The name Tyoch.
People keep asking that, and
it's a little weird.
I know, but I heard it. I'm sure I heard it or read it somewhere, and in the back of my mind, I feel like it's a Gaelic word, and it means learning or teaching. But it was one of those. It's I love words, and it's a word that in your mouth, it's just such an interesting word to say. So So that's why Tyoch, just because
And
I
easy
really...
to remember. It just comes to your mind and you'll never forget, like something...
For each person it's different, but for me that word has stuck in my mind for years, and I've done a search. I can't really find the meaning, but that's what I like to think somebody told me at one point.
Okay.
And
so how did you start this project? What were the preconditions?
Yeah, so like most projects that I get involved with, it was a conversation with somebody. They called me and they said, I want to do this, what do you think? And I'm like, I think it sounds really interesting, and I'll help. So that's how it started. It was really simple, you know, and of course, as with most ideas, you start with a nugget, and then as you have the conversations, it builds and builds and builds. And the thing, I think the thing that most excites me is to have a site that, yes, it's B2B, it's corporations to meet high quality coaches and trainers, but it's a chance for small business to be supported, independents who might not be able to make proposals or go in on tenders that bigger companies can do. But also, we have a star system. So people can go...
Like hotels?
Like hotels. So people can go to the platform and actually choose the trainers based on what information and training or coaching they provide, but also based on ratings that they've had from clients. And I think that that's really exciting because, you know, when people are surfing the net looking for a coach, there's always a testimonial or two, but you're never really sure. But if I go to TripAdvisor and I see a hotel that has high ratings or a tourist attraction that has high ratings from tourists, I think, okay, that's I have confidence in that.
Well, that's a very basic and simple, at the same time workable way of showing the people who your coaches and trainers are. They say that coaching could change interactions, it could change relationships and the whole mode of conversations. And if that happens, that it could change the culture in the company.
Absolutely.
What is the ROI for a company if it hires a coach, and how would a company measure it?
Okay, that's a great question. I'm going to use an example. So sometimes coaching, you don't see the ROI right away. It's more a subtle influence on the organization that starts changing the culture and the people. But sometimes when I lived in Toronto, I had a very special coaching niche, which was I coached executives who were going to be fired. And so that meant that there is a huge ROI because these executives would have a parachute or a package. So in some cases, it would cost the company $1 million or more to get rid of the executive that wasn't performing for various reasons. And my practice was, and it was all word of mouth. My practice was going in and working with these executives for 10 weeks and evolving the conversation to a point where they were able to make huge changes with either the way their interpersonal relationships, the way they communicated. There was even the way they conducted business. It just depended. I was a bit older then, not in my 30s, but it just depended what was needed. But then there's like at the end of the coaching program, there is a huge return because if you save one executive, you know, from being fired, that can be a huge hit on the bottom line. Or a huge saving on the bottom line. So,
Lisa, for an experienced coach as you are, is it easy to immediately sense what the problem is in the company by just entering the building and judging by the interior design or the way you're welcome and the reception? Or does it take some meetings, some preparatory work, some interrogations? What's the process of coaching?
So I always have an intake meeting that I set up with the client. I smiled because sometimes you can. I hate to say that because I think it's really important not to make assumptions, and if you do have assumptions that you're carrying, to test them. But a lot of times I'm asked to go into organizations that want to improve their diversity, for example. And the first thing I say when they contact me is, okay, and a bit more difficult now with COVID, but I usually say, okay, well, I'd like to come over and walk through your office, because if you want to have diversity in the workplace, that can, not always, but that it's very easy to see if there is diversity or not. That being said, just because there's people from different cultures, different genders, different nationalities
in Luxembourg,
it doesn't, well, anywhere, you know, it doesn't mean that you have enough diversity in the company, because there's cognitive diversity as well. So how people think, and if everyone looks different but thinks the same, you have the same problem, right? But a lot of times it's a matter of going in and doing a discovery. And that's really important, not just so that you are focusing on the right challenges, but also for engagement with the population. Because if you're just going to go in and like coach somebody and leave, there's not going to be a huge value add to that. You need to be an effective coach. You need to have an understanding of the landscape, whether that's the business landscape or the workplace landscape or the cultural landscape.
So for companies, it is important to really differentiate between cultural diversity and cognitive diversity. Wow, for me,
so many different types of diversity.
I never heard about cognitive diversity in the company. So thank you for sharing that.
When the interesting thing is, when I coach, I do performance assessments. So I will give the person I'm coaching an assessment that allows us to look at not just what their motivation and drive is, but the types of environments where they'll do better or not as well. And I've used different tools over the years, but I was very fortunate when I started my coaching practice to begin with a tool that one of the aspects or one of the dimensions was brain speed. And so it looks at not just if you're a numbers person, and everybody knows about cognitive diversity, we just don't call it cognitive diversity. It's like, are you a numbers person? Are you a creative? Do you like to go from A to B to C, or do you like to go from A to R to Z?
In Luxembourg, Luxembourg is an emerging market with so many startups and new companies arriving every day. The coaching service, is it in need here? Do companies need coaching service in Luxembourg?
I think all organizations could benefit from some type of coaching, whether it's individual coaching or working with groups around just understanding group dynamics and how different personalities work together. A lot of my work is with groups, is allowing teams to work more effectively together. And I don't think Luxembourg is any different from anywhere else in the world, except that we have so many different cultures and so many different languages, and there's such a high bar for people for most professionals in Luxembourg, all the languages, etc. So, but I have to say, I don't see a huge difference between what organizations needed in Canada, for example, or Kazakhstan, or Paris, you know, or Luxembourg.
Do you have clients in Kazakhstan?
Oh yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Kazakhstan. I am coaching someone now in Peru. The lovely thing about you know, this virtual digitalized world we live in is coaching is not just for you know, your neighborhood.
For your neighborhood,
I have people I'm coaching all over the world. So.
This is quite a transitional period of time, and we're living through changes, and the time is rather challenging. And for coaches and trainers, it is important to be visible, to go online. Is it challenging for you to go online, or have you been doing it for many years?
No, I hate being online. But I've been I've been coaching remotely for almost a decade. So, and before that, like I coached via telephone. You know, when we didn't have Zoom and of course WebEx has
Online.
been around. But
It
like
was online.
yeah,
physically.
exactly. Yeah. So I've always. And a lot of the work I do, I can do remotely.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't really like the, you know, having to think about the camera and everything, but I try to put that out of my head and focus on the task at hand. But it does add a dimension when you can see the person and see their expression. It's helpful to the coach to see their physical reaction to some of the conversations we have.
For me, it's it's quite challenging to go online. You know, I cannot find myself doing my trainings online because I need to feel this energy, I need to see the faces and real exchange of energy. So, well, I'm dependent on that.
So that's an added value for Tyoch. We do online training, but we provide an in-person experience. We provide trainers, so you're not going online and just going through a course that was posted, you know, online 2 years ago, and you're going through the quizzes. You're actually coming into the Zoom room or WebEx at a certain time with a leader who's going to not only share their knowledge, but also facilitate a conversation. Because the biggest thing with in-person training, and what I've always, no matter what training I've taken in my lifetime, and Lord knows I've taken a lot, the information is one thing, but the people in the room and the energy and the skill and the knowledge you pick up from those people are really important. And so that's what we kind of focus on in Tyoch, is recreating that in the room experience safely through virtual classes.
Now you know where to go if you need coaching advice or a good training. Go to tyoch.com and you'll get all the answers to your questions, and you'll find high quality trainers and coaches there.
Thank you.